This podcast is recorded and produced on the lands of the Turrbal people. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay respects to their elders, both past and present. Hello and welcome back to Fertile Ground, a podcast with Dr. Jyotika Ruba. This podcast sets out to answer your questions about things like IVF, egg freezing, and why you might be struggling to get pregnant. Today, we're going to lift the veil on what happens at your first fertility appointment, so you know what to expect. Thanks for being here, Dr. Jody.
Thanks, Annabelle.
Okay, let's dive right in. What happens in that first appointment?
A first appointment with a couple or an individual, the first point to make would be that nothing is set in stone, and it's about getting to know each other during that appointment, understanding the couple's medical history and where they have been so far and what their journey's been like, whether or not they've had any other fertility experience or through another fertility company perhaps, and understanding that it would be a journey from there on, and looking at things like investigations and blood tests and perhaps some pelvic ultrasound for the woman, a semen analysis for the male in the couple if it was a heterosexual couple, and then having follow-up appointments to discuss but not rush any decision making. And then with each other we can decide where their fertility journey will go.
Fertility is often a really emotional subject. How do you navigate that with the people who come through your door?
Every patient is different, and I think we don't, as practitioners, have a feel for how that patient is feeling or thinking until you get to know them a little better. And it is a journey that we are all taking together. And I think there are many different emotional reactions to going through such a stressful situation. And it's stressful both emotionally and physically, and it has a huge impact on the couple themselves or that individual, and perhaps even the family around them or the existing family that they have. So I think it's being cognizant of how that person or couple might, react to having to go through such a stressful journey.
What are most couples like when they come to see you for the first time?
I think most couples are inquisitive. They're often a little reserved because they don't know who I am or perhaps what to expect from the first appointment. And I've had individuals and couples come in and at the end of the appointment they're crying through sheer relief that I actually listened, that I was open to what they wanted to discuss and that I wasn't pushing them in a particular direction. I think they appreciate as much information as possible, and again, that's very dependent on that individual or couple. Some people want a lot of information, some people want very little information, some people want more guidance, and some people come with absolutely no idea of what they want, and it may take a few appointments for us to figure out the journey that they need to start on. So everyone is very different.
So do you find that part of your job is almost like a counsellor in a way? How do you help people get some clarity on what they want to do?
Well, I think every person involved in that journey has some role in counselling patients, and I think particularly if an individual practitioner has some empathy in terms of their own experience through a fertility journey, I think that it is very difficult to understand what it's like to sit in the seat opposite me and comprehend the stress that this couple is going through. It's extremely stressful and it's extremely disappointing at times, and a very different world to the world that most people are used to dealing with. There is a lot of technology, there is a lot of information. Everyone is trying to be helpful. Their friends are trying to be helpful. Their parents are trying to be helpful. And sometimes that information is helpful, but often it's just information overload, and it's about sitting down together and trying to decipher what really is relevant to that couple.
And how do you go about delivering information to people who are a bit scared or daunted by the idea of fertility treatments, whether that's IVF, egg freezing, or something else?
I think most patients are scared and they're worried. But the one thing that I do appreciate after doing this for 28 years is that people want information. They are smart. They are capable of making their own decisions. And yes, people are frightened, but I think that the measure of information you provide depends on the level of their acceptance of that information. And fear doesn't move anyone forward. So it's about being equipped with the right information, given at the right, level. There are highly educated people out there, but they don't necessarily have a good understanding of even the basic process that's involved in something like IVF and egg collection and then embryo transfer. And it's a very, very complex world, but it doesn't have to be frightening with the right information.
So for the people listening, what would you most like them to take out of this conversation?
I hope people understand that to come and see a fertility specialist doesn't need to be scary or daunting or something that's not easily obtainable. I am very happy just to chat to couples without any intention to move them on to treatment if that's not what they wish to do.
Women and couples used to keep their fertility struggles to themselves. There was often some shame or taboo around that. Are you seeing that change for the better?
I think that now fertility treatment and also the concepts of egg freezing are becoming increasingly socially more acceptable. People are talking about it a lot more. People understand the need for it. And people are much more educated than they were 30 years ago around these topics. So I think when we discuss it openly, that also reduces some of the shame and the fear surrounding it. If people understand that it's common for people to talk about these things, but they tend not to talk about them with their own family or with their own friends. And it's very hard for some couples who look around them and see everyone else having a baby and they don't have a baby. They can't relate to that. They feel resentful. They feel upset. It's everywhere when they start looking. They go to the shopping centre and every second woman is pregnant. They see children everywhere. There's a daycare centre on every corner. Living without a child in society can be extremely hard. And so I think it's understanding where, these couples fit in and how we might help them get through that journey.
Again, thanks so much for chatting with us today, Dr. Jyoti. If you'd like to talk to someone about your fertility, you're welcome to contact Dr. Jyoti Karuba's rooms, or for a free conversation, contact Janaya's Fertility Advisor team on 1300 361 795. If you need a referral to see Dr. Jyoti or one of Janaya's other fertility specialists, our fertility advisors can book and organise a bulk billed telehealth GP appointment.